Hi there, Alden. How are you?
I'm doing great. How are you doing, Bill?
Well, good. We were talking a little bit off air here, but really appreciate you joining us on the We Are Superman podcast. And it's a rare honor to be able to talk to an 18-year-old finisher of the Leadville 100. How are you feeling about it right now? I mean, has it kind of sunk in yet?
I feel great. I think it sunk in pretty quick. I think walking to the car is when it really hit me, but body's feeling good, recovering well, and yeah, happy to be home.
Yeah. And home for you, you're back in Boston right now.
I am.
It looks quite urban behind you there, which
Yeah,
that's
right in the back bay right now.
are you? Okay. And you have the unfortunate circumstance, I understand, of going to a Red Sox game tonight. So you have to,
Yeah, I mean, unfortunate for some people.
well,
I'm
it
happy to
was
go.
fun. You just have to hang out with such low lifes there, but it's okay.
Yeah, exactly. All those Bostonians, you know.
Yeah, well, Bostonians are fine if they're not rooting for the Red Sox, the Celtics, the Bruins, um, the Patriots. Just aside from that, they're good people.
Yeah. Well, I take offense.
Okay, well, good. We've already accomplished something on this podcast today. I was in Boston actually. Let's see, it was last a year ago spring for the Frozen Four.
Really?
Yeah, I was over there at TD Garden. I'm a big University of Denver hockey fan, so DU won the national championship over there. So I do have some very fond memories of partying very late into the night in Boston.
I bet.
Yeah, so
I haven't reached those years yet, so.
nope, coming, but no, it was a good time. So yeah, they beat um, Minnesota State in the final, which was very cool.
Oh, awesome. I
Yeah,
bet.
so absolutely, yeah, they beat Michigan in the semifinal in overtime. So yeah, it was a fun run there. But you got to experience the Leadville 100, and as I was talking about off air, it is so unusual to see young people running the race now. When I first ran it in '92, I go back forever. For years they never had a finisher less than 23 years old, and the demographics have changed so much. It's so cool to see young people getting into it. I mean, but a lot, like even when I talk to kids that I coach, they're not even aware a race like this exists. Like, what put Leadville or just running ultras on your radar in the first place?
So I kind of stumbled upon running ultras just by falling down the YouTube rabbit hole
Right.
of ultra running. I watched a Gary Robbins documentary. I think of him either doing the Barkley marathons or the Wonderland Trail. And I was just in awe. I was like, okay, I am so far away from doing this, but it would be really cool to do this. And now it's on my radar.
Yeah.
Uh, so when I started running more, I it was kind of just a natural progression of okay, like let me do a 50K, let me build my way up. And for Leadville in specific, I went to school in Leadville for a semester at the High Mountain Institute. I don't know
Oh,
if you're
did you?
familiar, but
Yeah.
yeah, it's
Yeah.
right along the course. So just running along the course most days, I was like, okay, I wanna come back here. So that's what really attracted me to Leadville.
Oh, okay. What got you out to Leadville in the first? I mean, why did you go to the High Mountain Institute? What was your interest with that?
Yeah, so was kind of I was given the opportunity from my mom actually to take an alternative path to high school, I guess. She just wanted me to do something cool my junior year. So I started looking into semester schools and I just thought HMI was by far the coolest out of them. Just the trips that you do, the
Right.
location, all of it. I thought it was really cool. So I applied, got in, and then ended up going.
Oh, sweet. So you haven't gone through the traditional route of like, middle school, high school, cross country and track and things like that. It sounds like even your schooling's been a little untraditional too. Is that correct?
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, I'm a COVID runner. So I didn't start running until quarantine when I was so bored that I started. When I hated running, I would have done nothing
Right.
to run.
So you just took a step out the door and decided, okay, I'm going to start running. And I mean, how did those initial steps go for you?
Yeah, I mean, I think like anyone, just those first couple runs are so brutal. Um, I downloaded an app on my phone and I mapped out a 1 mile loop around my house because couldn't really go anywhere else. And I ran that every day for probably 3 weeks, and I just made it my goal to run a mile a day.
All right.
And it was kind of a natural progression from there. One day I ran 3 miles and I felt good the whole way through. I remember it was super rainy that day, but that was like, oh, okay, I can run further than 1 mile. That's a thing that people do.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
you're obviously wired a little differently than a lot of other teenagers who might have been sitting around playing Call of Duty the whole time, which I'm pretty sure a lot of them were. Were you already like an outdoors, I should say, kind of person to start with?
Yeah. So I've always been a big skier. I rock climbed a lot,
Right.
I guess before quarantine hit, so I wasn't able to do that. But I've always just had a thing for being outside, um, going on hiking trips. I was pretty young when I went on my first backpacking trip with my mom.
Right.
Some really fond memories of that, just crying on the trail a couple miles from trailhead. Um, so yeah, I've always had a thing for the outdoors, going on hikes in Acadia National Park as a 5-year-old.
Right.
Always been a pretty big part of my life.
Nice. All right. And when did you start setting goals of races you wanted to do and such?
So that was probably 2 months after I started running my mile a day. I ended up signing up for a marathon. And
As,
that felt like
as your first
huge.
race, you're going to run a marathon.
Yeah. So that felt like a huge thing. And that was, I calculated out in my head. I was like, okay, I have 7 months to train for this race, which was a marathon. It had about 8,000 feet of elevation gain, and it was at Sunday River, the ski resort that I usually ski at in the winter.
Yeah.
I was like, okay, it's perfect. I know this mountain pretty well. Might as well just go for it. And yeah, so that's kind of how I ramped it up.
Okay. Was there anybody in your life, or maybe because it was the pandemic, you were able to get away with this, so to speak, who said, "Hey, yo, Alden, maybe you should start with a 5K."
No, not at all. And
Oh,
I think the funny thing is how I got really like dipped my feet in the water into distance running is I said one day after running 4 miles that week, I was like, okay, I'm gonna run 7 miles today. And that felt like a pretty huge goal.
right.
Um, so I said, okay, I'll keep it really slow. So I did that first 7 mile loop. And by the end, I was still feeling really good. So I was like, okay, I'm going to do this 7 miles again. And so I ended up running 14 and a half miles that day after only running 4 miles as my longest run before that.
Oh, wow.
And that was so incredibly hard. I, felt really bad. Didn't eat any food. I didn't know anything because I hadn't done any real distance running before. So I just, made my way through it, even though it was pretty slow. But that was when I kind of understood that your body can do a lot more than you think.
Absolutely. No, I preach that all the time, whether it's my adult runners I coach, the kids I coach. Hey, Alden, I'm going to stop this for a second here.
Sounds good.
Yeah, no, I'm getting some funny sound quality here. I'm going to actually this. I mean, do I? I mean, do I sound? Now I sound a lot better. Okay. Do you notice the difference there?
It sounds all the same to me.
Okay. Yeah, I was getting some weird sound quality there. So okay, well, we'll just resume from where we were here, and I can
Cool.
edit out this part here, fortunately.
Yeah, sounds good.
Yeah. So I don't know. It sounded like I was talking the bottom of a soda can or something.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Okay. All right. So yeah, you figured out, like I say, what I preach all the time, how you can do an awful lot more, but um, all of a sudden you were ready to go do this marathon, huh?
I wouldn't say ready. I second guessed myself a lot in my training because I was kind of just figuring it out along the way. I looked up the Zappos training plan for a marathon,
Zappo.
and
Okay, that's
and
not the
that's
place
what
most people go, right?
yeah, and that's well, that's that's where I found my training plan, and I loosely based it off of that because I had a lot more time than it gave me, and it was also on trails, so I was just doing all the distances roughly, but on trails with a lot of elevation gain. I was doing my runs in the White Mountains and just picking pretty much the steepest and tallest mountains that I could find because I thought they were cooler.
All right.
So that ended up just, wiping me out. I took like 3 or 4 days to recover after each long run, but I was still going out there,
Right.
uh, probably running way too hard each day. But I mean, I ended up finishing the marathon. So it worked.
Yeah. What was your time?
I think it was a little over 6 hours,
All right.
which I mean, yeah, and I was super underfueled, just cramping up so bad for the last 10 miles. Not my best showing, but it
No, but I
was it
mean,
was nice to finish.
first of all, first marathon, but secondly, it's not your ordinary, Boston Marathon or something on roads. It's, you took on a little more challenge than just your average road marathon. So that's not bad.
Yeah, and someone during that race came up to me because I was 15 at the time, and
Right.
she said, hey, like this isn't a normal race that people do for their first marathon, right? And I was like, I don't know. I thought it was cool. I signed up for it.
Yeah. What did
Um,
you know? Right.
yeah, I mean, I just through my training, I just really fell in love with trail running and realized that I would so much rather run 26 miles on cool trails in the mountains than on the roads where you're just going straight ahead.
I'm totally with you there, big guy. I mean, and I also think you recover quicker. I always say I feel better after running a 50-mile trail race than doing 26.2 miles on the road. I don't know. It just beats me up being on the pavement for that long. So yeah, so that's better. I was volunteering at the Leadville Marathon and Heavy Half back in June, and I was just blown away by how many people I met up there who had chosen that as their first marathon. Also, again, that's not your basic intro kind of marathon. I think the average finishing time there's probably 4.5, 5 hours. So, but
Yeah, that's tough.
good for them, yeah.
And wasn't the weather really bad this year?
Oh my God, yes, it was. It was Armageddon. It was middle of June, it was snowing like crazy and cold, and it was just a mud fest up there. I mean, it was um, challenging. So yeah, that's what people chose for their first marathon. Good for them.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And it embraces the spirit of Leadville.
pretty much. Although that's not supposed to be Leadville even in June, but
Yeah.
well, you get what Again, as you saw the Leadville 100, that was not normal weather either. So oh well.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So in any case, you jumped from the marathon and wasn't long before. I mean, this was just like a year ago. You were like, running your first races and you jumped right into a 50 miler at some point there, right?
Yeah, so I ran my first marathon going into sophomore year of high school. And
Okay.
then during sophomore year, I was still running, just keeping up my fitness. I did a couple, I don't know, 20-mile runs or something like that, but I wasn't running a ton.
Well, yeah,
I
and
was
that was
actually
COVID.
climbing more.
Yeah.
Um,
Okay.
and then it wasn't until I went to the High Mountain Institute and talked to some of my teachers. One person in particular, his name is Jacob. He was on my crew this year because he wasn't running.
Okay.
Um, and he's run it 4 times now. And just talking to him about the race lit a spark in me. And from then on, I was like, okay, I'm gonna start running more. I'm gonna increase my mileage again. And that led to me signing up for a 50 miler that fall, which was, I guess, a little under a year ago at this point.
Yeah. And this one was out in New Hampshire there, correct?
Yeah, well, it was the Mid-State Massive, so it traversed the Mid-State Trail in Massachusetts, basically, which goes from the New Hampshire border to the Connecticut Rhode Island border. So
Oh,
it's
hmm,
cool to think you're just traveling all of Massachusetts.
right.
But I did half, so just the second half of that.
Yeah.
And that was a great race, but it was pretty tough because in order for them to have all the finishers line up at the same time, the 50 miler had to I started at 10 p.m.
Okay.
So it was just going through the night the entire time. And then you had that little sliver of daylight when I finished at 8 o'clock or something like that.
Yeah. Yeah, that is kind of weird. I mean, I understand if trying to avoid the heat and everything and maybe have it, maybe start later. And yeah, I don't know. But yeah, I did a 50 miler out here in Colorado in Fairplay, which is, started at just under 10,000 feet. And it started at midnight with a shot of whiskey.
Really?
Yeah. And then you ran,
Wow. Okay.
it was called the Last Call 50. And then you ran 50 miles from there. So, but yeah, starting at 10, yeah, you're getting pretty much nothing but darkness there. So, all
Yeah,
right.
that it was
That's good
it
training
was
for
tough.
Leadville, though.
Yeah, it was. And it was good. It was good experience to have, especially for my first 100 miler that I did, which was the Orcas Island 100, because that Orc or Washington State in February is super dark and the days are really short.
Right.
So it was nice to have that, night running experience going into that race.
Yeah. Does that race just stay in Orcas Island there?
Yeah, so it stays in Moran State Park,
All right.
which is super pretty,
Yeah,
but
no, I've been there, but I'm just like,
yeah.
how do they get 100 miles in there? I mean, they must do a lot of backtracking and
Oh
loops
my
or something,
gosh.
all right?
So the original course was going to be 4 25-mile loops,
Okay.
um, which totaled about 26,000 feet of elevation gain.
Ooh, yeah.
So once again, not, I guess, the best race to pick for your first race, but I was pretty impatient.
Right.
And the race ended up being pushed 12 hours because of severe weather, like 50-mile-per-hour winds,
Really?
downpour rain. So instead of starting at 8 a.m., it started at 8 p.m. And instead of being 2 days and one night of running, it was 2 nights and one day of running.
Oh, wow.
So that was really tough. And then another thing they changed because of that 12-hour delay is the second half of the race turned into 6 9-mile loops, which all included, I don't know if you're familiar, but the power line climb,
Yeah, I'm
which
not
is,
sure. Yeah.
yeah, it's like the famed climb on the Orcas course. Um, we had to do it 6 times in that second half, which just takes the life out of you each time because it's so steep
Is it
and
similar to Power
straight
Line
ahead.
in Leadville? Is it kind of,
It was just, I mean, same deal, but way
yeah,
steeper.
really?
Yeah. And
Good.
I think it was something like 2 miles with 1,800 or 2,000 feet of elevation gain each time.
Yeah. I mean, the only advantage
So
is you're closer to sea level, but
yeah, I mean that definitely made a big difference, but
right.
it was um it was brutal. And it felt like Groundhog Day doing that 6 times.
Yeah, I bet.
So that was hard.
Yeah, no, we were talking off air about how yeah, you don't like those repetitive courses so much. You'd hate the American Heroes run, but um yeah, I mean, but I mean, if I mean, yeah, six loops, especially if it's dark.
Yeah,
If
6 loops in the dark. And it was a psychological challenge because of just each loop took a long time
right,
because you're moving so slow. It's a lot of elevation gain. You're late in the race and it's dark. So it's just all those things compounded, plus a lot of hallucinating and tiredness. Like I
right,
fell asleep on the trail on my last loop. I fell asleep walking
right.
and I woke up probably 20 feet down the trail and I was so confused. I was like, where am I? What am I
Really,
doing? What am I doing out in the woods? And then it took me a second to realize that, okay, I'm running a race. I
Yeah.
checked
Did you
my
have a
watch and
pacer
I was
with
at
you at the
mile.
time?
Yeah, sorry?
Did you have a pacer at the time?
No, there were no pacers.
Oh, really?
So that, yeah, just another huge difficulty in that part. Um,
And then you looked at your watch and you're like, what the heck? I've been running for.
yeah, I was like, oh, my mile 96. Whoa. Um, yeah, so that was pretty bad.
Geez.
Just
So
fighting to stay awake.
yeah, so how does your teenage brain deal with all that? I mean, that's it's challenging for anybody, much less somebody who's race veteran or somebody who's younger like you. I mean, that repetitiveness, dark, all the elements there. How do you deal with that?
I think um I think I'm just I think I have a pretty good mindset about it. I stay positive a lot. I've always been a very smiley, bubbly person. So
Right.
a lot of me is just like, okay, stay positive, it's fine. But then I think just I have pretty good mental endurance, I would say. And that's something I try to stay centered on is just making sure that I know that it'll end at some point if I just keep going and take one step forward, one after another. Um, and I think my background in baseball, I played baseball for a very long time, also actually does help a little bit because I mean, baseball is a pretty slow game
Right.
and you have to be super composed the whole time.
And they hate running beyond belief.
Yeah, I mean, I was with them on that.
Right.
Um, but I think that composure when you're batting or need to feel the ball or something like that kind of helps me just stay comfortable in the moment when I know I have a long way to go or when I'm feeling really bad it'll help ground me and be like okay, I know if I can keep trying to control what I can control like eating and just stay moving things will hopefully turn around.
Yeah. Where did you learn all that? I mean, those are pretty mature, advanced concepts there, young man. And, for an 18-year-old to have a pretty good grasp of all that, I mean, that's what a lot of runners spend years and years trying to develop. Where does that come from in you?
I think they're just things that I found out from challenging myself and running, just going out all day, and then also talking to people who have experience in this. Um, like my first half marathon, when I went out, had no idea I was even capable of running 13 miles, let alone 14 and a half,
Right.
because I still had to get home. I think through that, I really, that was that big realization of um, just if you keep moving it'll happen.
Right.
um, and you're completely in control of the outcome of each situation. So that initial realization and then all the other experiences of when I've just felt so bad and made it through has given me a lot of confidence that in any situation I can kind of get out of it if I just keep going one foot in front of the other.
All right. Absolutely. That makes sense. No, and I do like your attitude there. In fact, later on, I've got to send you one of these here. See my
Oh yeah, I would love that.
Yeah, yeah. My be positives that I give them out at track meets or give them to kids who have a good attitude, need a good attitude, whatever. So um,
Yeah,
you'll definitely I'll have to get your address. I'll get that out to you. So
yeah, I would
yeah,
love that.
of course. So you've had this pretty quick ramp up here, and then I mean, when you ran the Orcas 100 there, I mean, first of all, your time was 32 hours and 9 minutes. So um, that's a long time to be out there. What's the cutoff on that race, by the way?
It was 36 hours.
Okay.
And that's part of the reason why that race felt super appealing. But then I mean 32 hours is a long time to be out.
Oh, yes.
Um, I think my first 50 was 13 hours. I was like, oh, I'm making great time. I feel good.
Yeah.
And then those six loops it was a very common theme where people just slowed down so much. And I think the modified course, from what I've heard from a lot of people who have done it before, is it slowed the race down a lot. So my second half was in, I guess, 19 hours.
Yeah.
So that was,
All right.
yeah, that was tough.
Yeah. I mean, it can be both physical and mental, as you say. I mean, yeah, I remember I did a race in Moab. It was a 24-hour race where it was a 5 1/3 mile loop, and you just did it and reversed every loop you did. And you'd see the same people because, you're always going crosswise. People are in,
Yeah.
different loops, and everybody would you'd see somebody you'd seen, 13 times before already, and just kind of roll your eyes. And it's like, yeah, here we go again. And I mean, it was definitely a huge mental challenge, just seeing the same terrain and the same people over and over and over.
Yeah, that sounds really tough.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I mean, so I love seeing people when I run.
Right.
That's one of the biggest things that keeps me going, is just being social. Um, at I don't know what mile it was. It was between Outward Bound and Twin Lakes going inbound. Um, I there was a guy in his pacer probably 50 feet behind me and my pacer, and I yelled out to them, "Hey guys, like, do you want to listen to Sweet Caroline?"
Oh God,
And
no. Oh my gosh, that's my all-time hate song right there.
and
Oh.
um they were like, "Yeah, like I would never pass up a moment to listen to Sweet Caroline." And that, just having that interaction and the music and everything just got me pumped up. I was so excited, and I felt so good. So
Right.
just, I mean, having those people around makes such a huge difference for me.
Right. Oh God. Oh man, I may have to end this right now talking about Sweet Caroline. No,
Hey,
no,
I mean, just you wait. It'll cure any sadness or any struggle you're having in a race.
no. All it does is gives me a migraine. Okay. Uh, now, for those who are unaware, that's what the Red Sox play in the eighth inning of all their games at Fenway Park. So it's been driving me crazy because the University of Denver, quite often during the games, they'll play it. All the students, join in singing and everything, and everybody there gives me crap about like, hey, yeah, Bill, there's your song. It's like, oh, God damn it.
Yeah, no, it's great. And it's the seventh inning stretch, actually.
Oh, is it? It used to be
I
their eighth
had
inning.
to have to correct you on that one.
Yeah, well, then they changed it because one time it was their eighth inning thing, but um, with the shortened breaks between innings, I'm surprised they got time for that and take me out to the ball game, right?
Yeah, I mean, you can't forget Sweet Caroline. Wait, I think it's the seventh inning
And yes,
stretch.
you
I
can. You
hope I'm not
actually can.
wrong.
Yeah. All right. We may have to have a pinky bet on that one.
I'll see tonight,
All right.
cheering on the Red Sox.
Okay. Report back.
Okay.
Yeah. So yeah, let's talk about Leadville here for a bit. So you decided you went from Orcas in, well, just 6 months ago. You jumped into Leadville there, and what'd you think?
I mean, Leadville is an incredible race. For everything I had heard was that the community is unlike all the other races, just the course and everything about it, the aid stations, the support is all just top notch. And that's exactly how I felt. It just felt super special. And you can tell, I mean, going into Twin Lakes, just the community around that little area and everything going on is so amazing and intense, and just the amount of support is unheard of.
Yeah.
And that
So
was that was super different coming from Orcas, which was a super small race too.
yeah, and
So
plus you're not going to get a lot of spectators going out to that island there. So
yeah, exactly. So it was a very different vibe, but I mean, it was amazing.
yeah. Well, Twin it has become kind of a thing now, and it always was, but it's gotten even huger the last few years now that crews and pacers can't go to Winfield anymore. That was a change they just made a few years ago. In fact, years where I was injured, I would go out and work at Winfield, and it was just a mob scene out there. It was I mean, there was no place for cars and people. It
Yeah.
was truly, truly nuts out there. There's no cell service out there. It was pretty crazy scene. And one problem was there were just too many people on Hope Pass. I mean, when you're going over and you got pacers and runners going one direction, runners going the other direction. It was just way too crowded. In fact, in 2010, I swore I was never going to run Leadville again because it had just gotten too crowded. And of course, I started having surgeries every year after that, and it was kind of my thing. Like, okay, I'm going to go back and run it, which I was able to do again back by 2015. A few years later, they eventually no more crew at Winfield, and so now everybody, all the pacers and everything, have to start at Twin. And I mean, people got to park miles away now. It's gotten really, really nuts. But yeah, it's raucous. I mean, it's really crazy when you come through there, and
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
it's
And I think that change from no pacers at Winfield is it was definitely good, because even going up Hope, it was pretty crowded. I was with a
yeah.
solid sized group of people. Um, and yeah, I can't imagine having more people on that trail.
Yeah, yeah. You talk about being social there, Alden. But when I first ran Leadville, there was 175 of us in the race.
Oh yeah, that's pretty
Yeah.
small.
Yeah, you would actually go 20 or 30 minutes at a time on the trail and not see another human being. It was,
Really?
yeah, it was.
Wow.
I'm still to this day when I'm out there just kind of amazed when you see especially at night, you see the long line of headlamps, any part of the
Yeah.
course. It never used to be that way. You could, like say, run through the night 20 or 30 minutes and not see anybody else. So yeah, it's even with no pacers on Hope Pass, it's still plenty crowded up there.
Yeah. And I just think that whole section from Twin Lakes back to Twin Lakes is like a whole nother race, because you don't
Yeah,
see your crew, you don't see anyone you know.
right.
So it's
And if
like,
you're as bad at climbing as I am, a third of my race is spent on those 20 miles,
yeah.
literally. Um,
Yeah, I'm pretty confident in my climbing skills, but even then, it was it was tough going up Hope, and just knowing that you're not going to see your crew for hours. I don't know
right.
how many hours it took, like 8 hours maybe,
Yeah.
is tough.
Yep. Yep. I get it. So, who was your crew, by the way?
Oh, so I had a friend of mine that I went to school in Leadville with, and then her mom, who was just like a professional crew, basically.
Yeah.
Um, she's amazing. Her name is Valerie. Her daughter's Anna. And then I had my old teacher who has run it 4 times. He was going to run it this year, but he tore his meniscus. So
Yeah.
unfortunately, he wasn't able to. But then he offered to help crew. So I was like, please.
Yeah.
Um, and then my mom came out, which was amazing. And let's see who else. Then I had a couple old teachers also pacing.
Nice.
It was cool. Yeah. Like all the people that I had known from the school in Leadville
Yeah,
kind of came out, and I was able to catch up with them on the course, which was great.
for sure. Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, so let's before you got with your pacers, but at least you had crew out there. So just talk briefly about the first 40 miles. How all that went for you. I mean, were you chasing cutoffs at all, or were you pretty comfortable in how you were doing with that section?
Yeah. So the first 40 miles went really, well, I was going to say really well, but that's not true. I think the first 13 miles to May Queen went super well. I was just, following the person in front of me in the dark,
Yeah.
just
And just to
letting it
interrupt for
all.
1 second, I noticed your pace
Yeah.
was 10:15 or something for the first. I mean, that's blazing out there. And what got me is I saw, and you were third out of three in your age group. I'm like,
Yeah.
nice.
I was surprised by that too, looking back at that.
Right. I mean,
Um,
that's, maybe shows a little inexperience on young runners there, but it's like
yeah.
some people do run that first part to May Queen like it's a half marathon race. And
Yeah.
yeah. But yeah,
Yeah. I
you
mean,
got there pretty quickly. Yeah.
that that section, I was worried that I was going out a little too fast, but I do most of my running in like the 7, 8 minute range, so that it still felt super easy.
Right.
And I just felt good going through that section. Um, and I knew there was a climb right after it. So, just a little bit of something different, makeup, whatever
Yeah.
you lost. Um, So yeah, that was a good section. And then I left May Queen with a PB&J,
Okay.
and that did not work. That
Oh,
did not
really?
really work out for me. I mean, it didn't sit great. It left me feeling weird. Um, so I was not happy about that. And then after Outward Bound, I guess May Queen to Outward Bound was fine. Just, chugging along. It was a good first 25 miles.
Right.
And then the heat of the day really kicked in from Outward Bound to Twin Lakes. So mile like 24 to 40, basically.
Yeah, that
I
section when
noticed.
you're running up to half pipe and you're pretty exposed up there can get
Yeah.
awfully hot out there. And it was, it was 70 something degrees there, which is insanely hot for Leadville. So yeah, I'm sure that took its toll.
Yeah, I think the high said 77,
Okay.
which in the Leadville sun at 10,000 feet is just, it feels like you're cooking out there.
Right.
So that was really tough. Um, but I really felt the heat going on the fire roads, the exposed fire roads over to Twin Lakes. And then I ran out of water um, about 3 miles from Twin. And I was hoping that there was the water station, but
I heard it wasn't
I
there
kept
this
on
year.
looking out for it.
Yeah.
I kept on looking for it and it wasn't there. And that was a pretty common thing that I think people were complaining about.
Yeah. No, I mean, that's something you expect. I mean, it's just a place to fill water bottles, but yeah, I don't know what happened to that this year.
Yeah, although it might have said inbound only on the map, but I just didn't see it. I don't know. It ended up being fine. I was just a little
Yeah.
dehydrated.
I was thinking because, when I ran it last year, I'm almost sure it was there. Yeah. Yeah, it was. Yeah. I mean, of
Yeah.
all
Well,
days, yeah.
yeah, I mean, nothing to complain about. I mean, it wasn't there, so nothing I can do. I
Right.
was just thinking, okay, just let me get to my crew, and I'll have a bit of an extended break and then head up to Hope.
Yeah. All right. How was Lovely Hope? My
Oh,
favorite part of the
that,
course.
I mean, we talked about this a little bit before, but just staying in the trees for that, I think it's like the first 3 or 4 miles or something of the climb was really tough for me.
Right.
And for some reason, I don't know what it was, but my heart was just beating out of my chest and I was breathing super hard.
Hey, you know what,
And
Alden? That's not just you.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
You're
And
climbing 3,500 feet in 3 miles up to 12,600 feet. That happens to everybody.
yeah. So I was, just climbing up with a pretty solid group of people, and I wasn't eating much, so I just decided, all right, I'm just gonna, try to do whatever I can to eat. So I sat down on this log, and then four other people sat down with me, and it was like, oh hey guys,
Yeah.
we're all trying to eat. We're having just the worst time ever going up Hope Pass the first time, so this is great. But I got a little bit of food in me, and when we finally made it up to the Hope aid station, I took like a probably 5 or 10 minute break, had some food, and just felt really good from there on. Because I mean, I love being above the trees, even
Yeah.
though it's more exposed. Just that view makes it feel so much easier for me. So even though it was hot, I just felt really good going up that last half mile, and then was cooking on the way down, passing a ton of people. I also love running downhill. It's like one of the most fun
Yeah.
things in the world. So
Yeah. I mean, I love running downhill, although, once you get past the top there, though, it's kind of tough to run down Hope Pass and places. And it's pretty rocky, it's uneven, slopes to one side. I mean, it's not the
yeah.
easiest running anyway. I mean, coming back towards Twin Lakes, it's actually pretty good running, but yeah. So, but yeah, no, I think you earned it. So you get to go have fun going down.
Oh yeah. And I mean, so I do a lot of my training in the White Mountains in New Hampshire.
Right.
And I don't know if you're familiar, but those are so technical.
There for real. Yep.
All the West Coasters hate on the East Coast for not having serious mountains, but I like would love them to do a little trail running in the White Mountains. It's hard to run, so honestly,
Right.
Hope felt pretty buttery going down, just
Really.
because nothing. Yeah, there's no smooth trails, so it was really nice spending some time on the West Coast getting that.
Right. Yeah, I mean, yeah, the East Coast trails really are not meant for running. They're meant for
No,
hiking.
not
I
at all.
mean, even the AT is really it's a hiking trail. It's when people set speed records on the AT, it's like, wow, that's pretty insane.
Yeah, it's incredible, and the climbs are what are really tough because there's like switchbacks aren't a thing. A trail just goes straight up the mountain,
Yeah,
and it's it's not it's not super fun. It's not really easy.
right. Yeah, and yeah, going up Hope with all those switchbacks is kind of plays with your mind, doesn't it?
Yeah, you think you're so close, and then you have like five switchbacks
Right.
to go. So it's tough, but it's nice to not have to go up something that steep.
Sure. All right. So then you got down to Winfield, and so to me is kind of a magical place, although now it's deserted. And then you get turned around and go right back over that nasty old Hope again.
Yeah, I mean, all right, Winfield was a good. I was happy to feel good going into Winfield because I knew that's where like the most important thing for me basically was just to get out of Winfield
Yeah.
because then I knew I could, as long as I made it back over to Hope, I would finish. Um, as long as I guess nothing went horribly wrong.
No, very true. And
Um,
you were in Winfield a little after 4 o'clock, which is fantastic because
yeah, I was
cutoff there
super
is
happy.
6. Yeah.
Um, I right about 12 hours um into Winfield. So and I felt good in Winfield, which was great because I knew I was going to get out of there and just keep chugging along. And once you hit the bottom of Hope Pass, you're already far enough from Winfield that I wasn't even a thought in my mind about, turning back because I think some people might have done that.
Really? Oh,
I
wow.
don't know. I mean, I saw a couple people turned around. I don't know. What was interesting was seeing a lot of people um coming down Hope, knowing that they're not going to make the 14-hour cutoff, which is a pretty tough cutoff at Winfield.
Yeah, it is. I mean, it's funny. I never thought all my years about the cutoffs in the first half of the race. And as I got older and slower, all of a sudden it's like, oh, wow, those are actually pretty aggressive there, And I mean, by the time you get back to Twin, if you've made the cutoff there, you can virtually walk it in.
Yeah, I mean
But
that's basically what I ended up doing
yeah,
a little bit later on.
right.
But yeah,
But
no, I
early
felt
on, you got to
really
be moving. Yeah.
yeah, I felt really good about the cutoffs. I left myself, I mean, pretty much 2 hours, a little over 2 hours from the cutoff. Um,
Yeah, no, that's
so
fantastic. I mean, you do realize like the majority of first timers at Leadville do not make it past Winfield.
yeah, that's what I mean. I met a lot of people before the race, and I've heard so many people be like, "Yeah, this is my third time running Leadville. I failed twice,
Yeah.
or I've run it 4 times and I, finished once, didn't finish 3 times." So it
You,
takes a
you know,
lot of
yeah. In the early days of the race, you went to the whole pep rally thing they have the day before out in the
yeah,
field. I mean, Ken and Marilee are out there, and those two are they're icons, and Ken fires everybody up like nobody else can. But in the old days, they used to have it in that little gym that is in downtown Leadville, and I remember this was probably back in the '90s when I was running. They introduced some guy. They go, "This guy here, he's been here 12 times and never finished, but he's back again." And it was kind of like, yeah, look, I mean, guy hasn't given up. And to me, I'm like, that doesn't motivate me. I mean,
yeah,
he's been here 12 times, hasn't finished. Uh-oh. But
yeah. To me, it makes me think about what their mind is like during the race because I mean, my mind, even if I just feel absolutely horrible, I never consider dropping out. I guess I haven't done a ton of races, but
right.
I'm always just thinking like this sucks, but I'm just gonna keep walking and it'll end.
Yeah. But
Yeah.
But yeah, it doesn't sound like you have faced real adversity in a long race yet. Not that I'm saying that's a bad thing,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
but I'm just saying, so in 2015, I was coming back from major knee surgery. I wasn't even supposed to be running until May, and I actually started running in January, and so you know, I was in shape enough to run the race, but not to do great. And I was the last finisher of the race that year. I was the
Wow.
last pass, and I got into Twin Lakes, and I had a little uh, disconnect with my crew, which was all a bunch of high school kids. They gave me the wrong headlamp, and I'm coming down. Hope it's getting dark, and at the time, my night vision was a problem, and with the dim headlamp I had, I couldn't see. And so my pacer literally was narrating my way down, like tree on the right, we're going to the left, rock on the left, we're going to the right, all the way down. And so by the time I got to Twin, well, actually, somebody from my crew had already run out from Twin, like, come on, you got to hurry up. I got to Twin with 4 minutes from the cutoff there.
Oh my
I was
gosh.
actually within 4 minutes of the cutoffs all the way in. And that was my little bit of adversity that year because it was so stressful. I could never, ever take my foot off the gas. I had to just keep moving, even through aid stations. There's no time because, I would have missed a cutoff. So, um,
Yeah, that sounds scary. It's like a train coming at you and you just gotta keep running.
yeah, exactly. And of course, a lot of people, they deal with various, stomach issues, turned ankles, falls, whatever it is, all sorts of adversity. So, yeah, sometimes you got to plow your way through it. But it sounds like your attitude stayed positive really through most of the race, huh?
Yeah, I mean, have I guess I have pictures from pretty much any part of the race and I'm smiling in almost all of it. Um, but yeah, I mean, I think I just always try to stay positive.
I like
And
it. Yeah,
yeah, I mean, like seeing all the people coming outbound when you're going back inbound is also it was a big boost for me
right.
because every 5 seconds I was like, hey, good work, good work. And it
Sure.
was just a constant stream of people coming through. Um, so that was really cool too.
Yeah.
And that, it just helps me keep it going, keep the smile on my face.
Yeah.
And
That's
yeah,
awesome. What was your low moment though? Did you have one?
what was my low moment?
Yeah.
I think I mean I just got pretty angry later on in the race. I don't
Right.
know if we mentioned this, but I uh started having knee problems at mile 75. And then
Mm,
I was also having stomach problems a little bit before that, not throwing up, but just like feeling, stomach hurt a lot. Wasn't really able to run because of it.
not able to eat
Um,
very well or anything.
I was able to eat okay, but I wasn't hungry at all and nothing felt good. So it was like, okay, I guess I'll eat this maybe.
Yeah.
So I sat down a couple of times with my pacer and ate some Sour Patch Kids and then I kept going. Um,
Right.
but yeah, so at mile 75, it got really cold in the valley. Really cold. I was not expecting that. Um,
And I got news
and
for you, big guy. It was about 10 degrees warmer than it usually is.
in the valley,
Hmm. Oh
oh
yeah.
my gosh. It
Yeah.
was,
Usually at night there, it gets down to the upper 30s.
yeah,
And
it was so cold.
yeah, no, I mean, I was kind of amazed because I was helping cruise somebody, but in between aid stations, I would just go to that aid station and go to work. I had my volunteer shirt on, and so I would just jump in, and I was actually marveling about how little I was wearing because it was so warm.
Oh, well, that makes me feel great.
Yeah,
Um,
right. That's what I was
I
looking for, right?
at Outward Bound, I was sitting in a like a rumple blanket and um I was sitting in front of the heater for 1 minute while my crew had my like bag getting ready. And I was, just so cold. But I think the cold kind of had my muscles tightening up and then just put stress on my knee or something. And what I think is my MCL started to feel really bad. So from there, it was just, okay, I'm hoping I get better, but for now, I'm just walking it in.
Right.
Um, which I thought I was going to be able to run at some point again, but it ended up not being so.
Really? So you didn't basically run
Didn't
a step the
I
rest
didn't
of the way?
run, yeah.
Wow.
I didn't run a probably more than 200 meters for the last 25 miles.
Ooh,
Um,
man. I mean,
so
psychologically, that's a long time to be out there too. I mean, in my head, if I'm not clicking off miles at a pretty regular pace, I start losing it a little bit, you know. So that's pretty tough if all of a sudden these miles that you say you're used to training at 7 to 8 minutes a mile, and all of a sudden you're clicking off miles in 17 minutes. That's hard.
yeah, that's what ended up happening. So, I mean, going up power lines, I was able to climb really well. I
Right.
passed a bunch of people, and then that power lines climb is also, I think personally, that was the easiest climb on the course because just,
Right.
um, I don't know why. I just think that like, steady grade for a little while is just, yeah, it worked well for me.
Yeah.
Um,
Personally, Alden, I'm very proud of the fact that I have never stopped once on power line going up.
yeah,
For one thing, it's smooth. Okay, I mean, if it's not rocky, it's not like you're avoiding obstacles. I mean, and I just get in a steady rhythm, and it is just my mantra to just I have a mantra. It's just RFM, which is relentless forward motion. And
yeah,
so I just go plowing my way up power line. And even though it might be 2 or 3 in the morning and it's cold, and I just find, you just put your head down and go. And I'm very proud of the fact I've never stopped on that.
yeah. And that just putting your head down and walking or running if you can it works well on power lines. And it worked great for me.
Yeah. What'd you think of Space Camp when you got up there?
I thought it was so just odd. It was really funny. I think
Yes. Yep.
it was a lot smaller than most years.
Oh,
Um,
really? Okay.
which is yeah, that's what I heard, but it was just so funny. Um,
For those who don't know, at the top of the power line climb, there are these guys who just set up this impromptu aid station, and they're playing Grateful Dead music, usually smoking weed, and some adult adult they partake in an adult way for Colorado, I guess I should say. There's usually glow sticks on the ground and everything. And in fact, so in 2015, that year when I was chasing the cutoffs, I Space Camp had never been there before. When it was totally new, and again, I'm pushing. I get to the top there, and I get through Space Camp, and I said to my pacer, I said, "You would not believe what I just hallucinated." And he's like, no, that was real. And I'm like, what? And I wished I could have turned around and gone back and hung out for a little bit. But as I said, we were chasing cutoffs. We had no time. But at first I was like, holy crap, this is bizarre. Just great hallucination, I thought.
yeah, I mean, I think I didn't hallucinate at all in Leadville,
That's too
which I
bad. It's
was
part of the
happy
fun.
about. Had a lot of hallucinations at Orcas,
Yeah.
uh, a lot. And if I was in that, like hallucinating a bunch headspace
Right.
going at space camp, I think I would have been really confused or freaked out or something.
Yeah.
But yeah, I was at that point, I was just in the mindset of I'm walking it in, so let's just keep chugging along.
Right.
Um, and yeah, I mean, that got pretty frustrating pretty quick.
The fact that you just had to walk.
Yeah, I mean, I
Yeah.
so I felt good physically, and I was really like awake and alert for how late it was at night.
Right.
So feeling that good in my legs, but then just having my knee hold me back was
Yeah.
really frustrating. And honestly, like I started just getting bored. It was like frustratingly boring because I had left myself a lot of time
Right.
to make it to the finish. So I was just like, okay, like this is my life now. I'm walking.
Yeah, yeah. Now that's a good way to look at it. It is what it is right then, and yeah, that stretch around Turquoise, with the sun coming up and everything is beautiful, but it just goes on forever if you're not moving
It
very
does.
quickly. I get that. Yeah, I've been in that boat, not with a knee injury, but just times just not moving very quickly. So
Yeah. And I think that's like a common theme of the Leadville course. Things just go on forever. That climb, that initial climb from May Queen up to the top of power lines is so much longer than I thought it was going to be. Um, the same thing with just I guess the whole outward bound to Twin Lakes section just felt like forever too. And I guess
Yeah, yeah, I
it
can see
makes
that. I mean,
sense.
the part between tree line and half pipe is not very scenic, really. I mean, you're kind of,
Oh
you know,
yeah.
exposed there. It's just kind of a dirt road there, and then the part, yeah, between half pipe and Twin Lakes until it starts plunging down. Yeah, that seems like it takes a long, long time too.
Yeah. Because
Yeah,
the whole time I was wondering when is this, when am I gonna start going down to Twin?
right.
Um, and I guess I mean it's like a 14 mile, 15 mile section. So it makes sense that it takes so long, but when you're running so far, it just feels like it's shorter. So it feels like it should take a shorter amount of time. Um, but yeah, that was a big low for me in the day
Yeah,
because it's so hot and just
sure.
miserable.
Yeah. So, the only thing I was thinking of is, was your hydration off a little bit? Do you think that maybe why your nutrition maybe wasn't quite dialed in?
I mean, I think I probably wasn't drinking enough. I know going into Twin Lakes outbound, I was definitely dehydrated.
Right.
Um, and I think I was probably just sweating a lot more than I thought I was. Um, because like looking back at it, I was really hot. Especially just in that exposed area. So it definitely made a big difference. And um, my crew has been telling me I should start experimenting with liquid calories because I hate liquid calories.
Okay.
So I honestly I think that probably would have helped a lot.
Yeah. Actually, I was going to ask you, what is the teenage ultramarathoner fuel with? I mean, it's probably very different than the old grizzled veteran like I am in that, you mentioned before, what, Sour Patch Kids or something like that. I mean, it's like,
Yeah.
that's usually not the first thing I'm reaching for, but what were you fueling on most of the time?
So just normal candy kind of thing. I realized at least in Leadville, just like the chocolatey kind of like Snickers, that kind of thing just was not working.
No.
It was too heavy, too dense. But usually those are really good when I'm running. Um, so gummy kind of things like Sour Patch Kids they were, they tasted really good.
Okay.
And then I love awesome sauce, spring awesome sauce. I had so many of those.
Okay. Well, no, that's good
Down,
stuff. All right.
that went down easy. Um, and then what's it called? I'm not sure, but those like it's like chia based
Oh yeah.
gel.
Yeah.
Those are good.
Was that Morton, or I'm trying to think who has that?
No,
No, it's
um,
yeah, I know
yeah,
what you're
I'm not
talking
sure.
about. Oh yeah.
But those are really good. Because the flavor isn't too intense.
Mm, yeah.
And then oh my gosh, I sometimes I have Morton, but just the like trying the flavor of trying to be flavorless is it tastes so
Bad.
bad to me.
Yeah, yeah.
I can't do it.
Yeah, I do like the spring gels. I mean, those I mean, there's kind of a vegan background to all that, so I like them a lot. Um, I'm kind of different. I eat almost nothing but fruit when I'm out running.
Really?
Yeah, a lot of people don't like that, but yeah, I can exist for a long, long time on just fruit. I mean, obviously, I get into some races and things just you get a craving. You just see something at the aid station that give me that. I made, in fact, speaking of chocolate, I made a huge mistake in one race where they had a bowl of M&Ms out there. I thought that sounded like a good idea. Well, I guess when it's hot and it's dry, dry. I mean, those M&Ms stuck to the roof of my mouth like asphalt. And
Oh
I
gosh.
spent like the next 2 miles running, scraping the roof of my mouth the whole time, scraping the roof of my mouth, trying to get it off of there. It was so bad.
Yeah, that sounds horrible.
Yeah.
I think chocolate has so many opportunities to just treat you wrong. So that wasn't working. Chocolate or peanut butter
Yeah,
was
right.
those were not working.
Yeah, and peanut butter and jelly sandwiches are kind of a staple at most races, so that's pretty funny.
Yeah, I mean sometimes it works, but it was just I couldn't do it. It
Yeah.
was too heavy, too much. But
Right.
yeah, um a funny kind of funny moment. I was running with um my friend Anna from Outward Bound to, or no, Twin Lakes to Outward Bound. And she said something about how blueberries can like cure cancer or something. I don't know. She
Well,
just brought
you
that
know,
up
good
nowhere.
antioxidant properties. Yeah, they're good. Yeah.
Yeah. And I was like, oh, blueberries would be really good right now. So she texted in the crew group chat and was like, hey, blueberries and nectarines. So they had that waiting, and
Nice.
that was pretty good.
Yeah, that is one
So
thing that's
lots of
changed in
fruit.
recent years is that you can actually like text or call your crew, which you never was able to do that in the past. And Leadville's still out there. A lot of places you probably still can't. But yeah, I between stints crewing, my friend who was running, I worked at the Outward Bound and May Queen stations. So we may have run into each other out there, but I was really surprised because two of the things they had in the aid stations I'd never seen before there. One was blueberries and the other was black olives, which, yeah, I understand, like kind of the saltiness, because
Yeah. Huh.
people like things like pickles or something. And I thought, yeah, black olives might not be too bad. But I'd never seen that before at a race. I thought that was pretty unusual.
Yeah, that is odd. I am a big fan of pickle juice and pickles.
Oh, yeah.
Um, when yeah, I at one point I was running along and I found an unopened one of those like pickle juice shots.
Yeah.
And I was like, I turned to the people behind me and I was like, hey, do you guys think this is should I drink it? So it was unopened, so I figured I might as well. And it was really yummy. So that was a happy moment. Good
All right.
find.
Did you eat any other food you found on the ground out there?
I think it was just the pickle juice. I usually stay away from ground food.
Yeah. Okay.
Although, I mean, if there were like wild blueberries out there, I could have spent ages just picking them.
Well, there were some places you probably passed some wild strawberries.
Really?
Yeah, there are a couple
I
places on the
wish
trail that wild strawberries grow. Yeah.
I wish they were like marked. Probably would have stopped.
Yeah, it's one of the problems of running here in Colorado sometimes. I'll be out on a run and I'll pass either wild raspberries or wild strawberries. And it's like, well, like nature provided me with a nice snack while I'm running here. So it
Yeah,
works
I don't
really well.
know. I don't know if you've been to Acadia National Park,
No,
but
I really would like to someday.
yeah, it's awesome. Trails are really cool there. But we used to fill up our hats with just incredible amounts of those like small wild blueberries.
Ah, I bet.
Yeah,
Joni Benoit used to be very well known for that. Do you know who
yeah,
that is?
that's really, oh, it's so nice.
Yeah. Did you know who Joan Benoit is?
I don't.
Ah, she is a Mainer who she won the first women's Olympic marathon back in
Oh,
1984. Yeah. And she's kind of a hero up in Maine, and she's still out there running. I think I saw her running the Boston Marathon this past year, and
that's
I
awesome.
think she's 70 years old now or something. But super, super nice woman. I've had a chance to meet her a couple times, and but she was always known for picking blueberries while out there running in Maine.
Wow. Yeah, Maine's a good place to do it. There's also
Apparently, yeah.
I worked in Maine last summer actually, and we found a lot of wild blackberries too.
Okay.
And those are good.
Yeah, you find those if you go running in Oregon, you'll find a lot of blackberries out there.
Oh yeah. I actually did a race in Oregon.
Yeah.
I was touring schools and did the backcountry rise 20 mile, which
Okay.
was just like one of the most incredible places I've ever been.
Really? Where was
Right
that?
by Mount right by Mount St. Helens.
Okay.
So you're at the Mount St. Helens observatory area, and then you run around those like alpine lakes.
Hmm.
It's just incredible. Um, and you see how the whole side of Mount St. Helens just blew off in the
Oh yeah.
eruption.
Right. Yeah.
So yeah, that was
I'm so old
amazing.
I remember that. Yeah.
It's not, yeah, not quite in my days, but
Yeah. Of course, I'm so old. I remember Mount Vesuvius erupting, back in Roman days. But
of course,
yeah.
yeah, you know,
Yeah. So, well, that's cool. You've gotten around a bit. So, but let's we'll come back to some of that stuff later. Let's just finish off Leadville here a little bit. And
yeah.
what was the last mile like for you? I mean, that's kind of iconic coming up Sixth Street, and you get your whole crew with you and everything. How'd that go for you?
Oh, last mile was I mean, I was just walking still, so I was like, okay, we're getting close. But I'm still walking it in, so it's still gonna be like a 15-minute walk.
Yeah.
Um, and that's where the signs for um all the past finish like winners are, right? In the last mile.
I don't know. I don't I'm usually hurting so bad by then. I'm
Oh yeah.
not even noticing that if that I
Yeah.
never knew that was
Well, I
there.
mean,
Yeah.
so heading up that the final dirt road before you get to the pavement,
Yeah.
there
The
were just
old
I
stage,
think
the boulevard, I mean, which is the absolute worst. I hate that so bad.
yeah, it was horrible. But
Yeah.
what made it even worse was that along the right side, it had a sign with um every single year that the race has been on and the top two finishers from the race.
Oh, okay.
So as you're walking along, it's like a countdown until you get to the road. You start at 1980, whatever.
83,
And then
right?
you're
Yeah.
like, okay, there's, 87, 88. And they're pretty far apart from each other.
Right.
And you're just thinking, oh gosh, it's
When the hell am I going to get
40 more years.
83? You're right.
So it was just like, it's like the countdown to the road. And it was just so brutal. But then, I mean, getting to the pavement and walking into town was it felt really good.
Yeah.
All the people down the street just talking to you, being like, "You're doing amazing." Just the endless support was incredible. I remember one woman was like, "You're 18," and then I was like, "Yeah." And as I walked by, she said, "Way to be tenacious." And yeah, it was just so funny.
No, my name's not Tenacious. I'm Alden.
Yeah. And just walking into the finish was really incredible. It was surreal.
Right.
Yeah, I'm so glad. I mean, one of my crew members took a video of everyone walking in, and it was just, it's really nice to look at because
I bet.
I mean, walking away from the finish, I was starting to get emotional once
Yeah.
I started thinking about like, oh my God, after all this time, I just finished Leadville.
You mean all this time in the race or all this time you've been running for 3 years?
All this, I mean, both, because I
Yeah.
knew I knew I was going to be running Leadville since last summer.
Yeah.
Because that's when I reached out to the charity First Descents um, to be on their 2023 charity team before the 2022 race had even happened.
Oh, wow. Okay.
I was really trying to jump the gun and make sure that I could make my Leadville dreams come true.
Oh, good for you. So tell us more about First Descents and what your involvement was with that.
Yeah, so First Descents is a really cool charity. They're one of the organizations that works with the race series. And what they do is they provide people who have been diagnosed with cancer or other serious health conditions, um, like outdoor trips for they kind of try to disconnect them from their diagnosis and give them that experience to, have a little freeing moment.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's a really, really cool charity. All the money goes towards providing those people with these free outdoor experiences, like kayaking trips, climbing trips, all that cool stuff. So
Yeah.
I was really happy to work with them, and huge thank you to them for letting me be on the team.
You bet. What's your interest in getting involved with a group like that?
I just thought, I mean, I love being outdoors and everything like that, and I love sharing that with other people. So being able to represent First Descents and raise money for them while I'm doing a cool thing and being outside, it felt like I was sharing that with other people, and
Yeah.
it made the experience even more special because it was, supporting other people in their outdoor activities and dreams too.
Sure. Well, that's awesome, young man. Glad you're doing that. They are a good group, and it's very cool. It's kind of like a what's the name of that group that helps Oh, yeah, helps kids, grants wishes to kids, Make-A-Wish
Oh,
Foundation.
Make-A-Wish.
Yeah,
Yeah,
right.
yeah.
It's kind of like that outdoor version, if you would.
Yeah. And I just, I loved that.
Yeah,
Thought it was a really cool organization.
yeah. So after the race, obviously you got to get a hug from Merrill Lee and meet Ken
Oh, yeah.
and then go on the stage there. You got an age group award, right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
I got my cool hardware. It says first place.
yeah,
It doesn't even say age group. So,
that's
I
true.
mean,
They don't. Yeah,
I
It-
could
you could.
technically, in some way, I could say I got first place. But yeah,
Or you could say you got first place in the girls division, whatever.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah, but you
But
get one of those nice gold pans, which is those are so cool.
yeah, it was cool. My mom knew what it was. I would have had no idea
Oh, you didn't know
what.
that was a gold pan?
No, I mean, I'm not a big miner. I
Well, obviously, but
Yeah.
yeah,
But yeah, it was really cool. Just another thing to help me remember Leadville.
sure. Well, cool. So, what have your friends said to you about this since then?
So I think it's so funny talking about this with my friends and just the people at home because I mean most people don't really know what ultra running is. Um, but I mean like young people especially
Nope.
are it's just completely clueless. Like never heard about it from you don't have like friends or friends of friends that are running marathons, so you don't really know any of that. Um, so it's funny because there's a lot of those classic questions like, do you eat? Do you sleep?
Right.
Um, and then
And then everybody's favorite is like, God, I don't even like to run or drive 100 miles, much less run, right?
yeah.
Everybody's
But
favorite, right?
it is fun to talk about it because it's just people are very amazed that that's a thing that anyone can do, let alone
Right.
100 plus people sign up for. Um, so it's really cool. And then it was funny coming back from Orcas. Um, I just went straight back into classes, and some of my teachers didn't know I had done it. So then I got back into class, and they found out, and they were like, "What? Like that's why you were gone for 5 days? Like, what the heck? That
Right.
is so weird." Um,
I
and
mean,
one of my
do you have
teachers
like a
was just
PE class where you like the PE teacher's going, why are you like hobbling around like that? Get out there and
no, I
play
didn't
ball.
at the time.
No.
Um, but then my psychology teacher asked me questions about it in front of the class for like 15 minutes. So it
Start
was
off with
pretty
like,
funny.
what is wrong with you? Or
Yeah. And
yeah.
then at one point in the year, the Leadville 100 came up on a presentation in my psych class. And I was like, hey, I'm doing that. That's what I'm doing.
Right.
So that was really funny.
Yeah, I was gonna say, what were they saying about Leadville in psychology class? Like, okay, these are people that have this issue here,
I forget. It was probably something about like motivation or just craziness. Like, what are these people up to?
right?
Um, and honestly, it still feels crazy to me that all of these people still are doing this. And I
You
mean,
know, it's amazing. Yeah,
it hasn't been too long since I hadn't run 100 miles. So I still think anyone that has done it, I look to them as just some like godly figure because it's such an incredible thing for anyone to do. And yeah, it really is crazy.
yeah. One thing that's funny is, I mean, I've done my share of ultra marathons, 100 milers and whatnot, but every time I get on the starting line of race like Leadville, I will sit there thinking, what the hell am I thinking? I'm going to run 100. I can't run 100 miles. That's insane, But as you said, you take it one aid station at a time, 1 mile at a time, one step at a time, whatever. And eventually, it's kind of like the old joke about how do you eat an elephant? Well, one bite at a time.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
then another really cool thing about the start line is that unlike marathon running, or I guess any other form of professional, like just normal running, you're right up there with the professional ultra runners who it's their life to do these races and win.
Right.
And you're starting, 15 feet behind them. And then in
Yeah.
2 seconds, they're going to be, an hour ahead of you.
Right. That's why there are a couple races I've done, which is kind of neat, where they actually, like, if you choose, you can get an hour head start. Just, and usually I'll do that just because sometimes it means you're running earlier in the morning, and
Yeah.
but then those lead runners are passing you into the race. It's kind of cool to be able to see them more than like Leadville, it's out back. They just kind of go whizzing past you, and you get to glance at them, and you may like strain your neck, whipping your head around so fast
Yeah.
them go by. But it's kind of cool in those races where you can actually kind of like be behind them there for a little bit. I mean, obviously they pull away pretty quickly, but
Yeah.
yeah, it is cool when you get to see all that out there. Do you have any mentors, if you would, people you've looked up to, people giving you advice in terms of what you've gotten yourself into?
Yeah. So I do have a coach. His name is Brendan Gilpatrick. He's an ultra runner himself.
Right.
Makes sense.
Sure.
And I've been working with him since last summer. Um, and he's been great. I mean, like super flexible, just and really supportive of me kind of just figuring out my place and ultra running, and figuring out what it's like as a young person to do this. So it's been amazing working with him. And then yeah, I think so. Jacob, who was on my crew, he is the one that tore his meniscus and has run Leadville a bunch of times.
Yeah.
um I He's the one that kind of lit that match inside of me. So I owe so much credit to him, because if I hadn't gone to Leadville for school and talked to him and had that motivation, I definitely wouldn't be here today. So
Yeah.
I definitely owe a bunch to them. And then, I mean, my parents too are so supportive, which is, I have endless gratitude for them, because it's like a big endeavor to do these races.
Oh,
Um,
sure.
so having their support has been just amazing.
Yeah. Are they runners themselves?
No, yeah, no, none of my siblings or anything are runners, so
Right.
it's really odd. And I don't really run with anyone else. It's just me.
Oh, yeah. So you don't belong to any run clubs, or, you
No,
just
not right now.
yeah.
I
Okay.
would like to. I would
Yeah.
like to be in the future, or now. But I mean, I always kind of just think like, it's easier logistically if I just go out and run myself, and
It's true.
like, what if what if the group run goes too fast or too slow, and I don't, I should go faster. I don't know.
Yeah. No,
So
I
I
mean,
kind
one
of get in my
dynamic of
head that
groups
way.
sometimes is just like it gives you a reason to get out there. It doesn't sound like you need that.
Yeah, no, I've never had a problem with that.
Right. And it's cool you
Um,
get your parental support like that. I mean, it's I mean, especially when they're not runners themselves. I mean, even at my age, my parents still have no understanding of what I do. They still, they I think they probably tell their friends I'm the black sheep of the family. Uh,
yeah,
my mom says, like, this is our athletic son. We don't know where he came from. It's like,
yeah.
yeah,
I mean, there's still those, and I think so. At this point, my dad pays or crewed for Orcas, and then my mom crewed for Leadville, so they both have seen the sport, and it's hard to understand what it really is, but they both know what the community is like and what these races are like, and that has made them super supportive, because just being there for anyone will make you understand why people do these races, and that's
yeah.
why they're so special. That's why Leadville felt just so incredible. They all kind of have that amazing community aspect to it.
Yeah, and you talked about being at the starting line with all the elite runners and everything, but I think one big difference also is that everybody is in the same boat wanting each other to do well. There's certainly other scenarios where people want to beat each other's heads in. I mean, most notably if you're playing baseball or basketball or whatever, but in an ultra marathon, everybody genuinely wants to help each other. Everybody wants each other to reach their goal. And everybody does have their own story about why they're there. I mean, as we talked about off air, there's a huge component of the recovery community, people who've overcome addictions or, you know, whatever issues they've got. And that's why they're in there. Other people are simply trying to figure out how far they can push their bodies or, but, you know, a lot of people do have a unique story getting out there, which I think adds to that whole community feeling of we're all in this for one goal because it means so much to everybody to be able to simply finish.
Yeah. And I love how many incredible people I've met out there. Um, Incredible people with great stories and just really fun people.
Mhm.
I ran probably almost half of Orcas or a third of it with my friend Joel, who is from the Seattle area, and he runs in Crocs,
Really
which I thought was just insane. Um, and he is, you know, he's been off just doing, I don't know, 10, 100 milers this year, just being
incredible.
crazy. But yeah, all in Crocs.
Good God.
Um, which
Okay.
is it's so funny to think that, you know, he does it in Crocs, but you know, people like that are just amazing and they're so fun to talk to, and then it makes the miles just fly by.
Yeah. There are some characters out there. I mean, there used to be a guy who used to run Leadville and other races known as Tutu Man. And this was like a big hairy guy. And he used to wear a ballerina outfit, including the ballet slippers. And
Okay.
I mean, I think about how much I appreciate having that foot protection when I smash my toe into a rock. And he's wearing
Yeah.
ballet slippers, but he was wearing the whole, you know, ballerina outfit there. And like I say, it's a hairy guy, you know, hairy chest. It's funny as hell. And there was another guy one year I saw. He was running in basically flip flops that he had attached to his feet by, like, if you ever go to like summer camp and in the crafts, they have you make those lanyards, you know, like that kind of material, that lanyard.
Mhm.
It's thin. And he had that as straps to hold the flip flops onto his feet. And it was right after Born to Run came out, as a matter of fact. Have
Yeah.
you read that book?
I haven't. But I've heard a lot about it.
Yeah. Well, if you run Leadville, you're going to need to read that book.
Yeah.
But yeah, this guy, I thought, well, maybe this was a Born to Run barefoot kind of thing, running in these flip flops. So he says, no, I just like to run this way. And it's like, wow, of all races, I just can't believe seeing ballet slippers and flip flops. But Crocs, that's a new one.
Yeah, I'm always surprised at how hardy some people's feet are. I
I know.
think it would hurt so much.
Yeah, I would think so. I mean, just the plastic rubbing against you. I don't know. I mean, I
Yeah,
guess one advantage is you run through a creek, they drain really quickly with the holes in them already, right?
that's true. I mean, going over Hope would be pretty nice.
Yeah.
But then the downhills, I think the downhills is where it would get you.
Oh, no kidding. Oh,
Because
geez, smashing your toes into that hard plastic. Yeah.
it would be so bad. And on the downhill, on Hope, I kicked a rock so hard, and I knew something bad was gonna happen with my toenail. And yeah, I've been paying the price since then.
Oh, yeah. Is it nice and purple now?
Yeah, I mean it's it's prime to fall off at some point, but I don't know when. It might be a little while.
Yeah. Yep. I've lost my share of toes. I mean, if you're a real ultra guy, I mean, it's funny because with the injury I've had, I haven't been able to. In fact, I ran this week. I ran 5 days this week, but I had not run in 4 months because of I had surgery for a bunion in my foot. Sucks, but
Mhm.
it's like the first time I've ever had intact big toenails in years.
Yeah,
It's kind of funny.
yeah. It's weird. I had never had foot problems before, besides when I kicked a stump in the 50 miler I did. But now both of my big toes are gonna fall off.
Well, you know
It
what?
was
If I
like
were to
a,
put on my fortune teller's hat with my crystal ball, I see very bad things for your feet in the future. Okay,
I hope not.
that's the way it goes, dude. If you're
It
gonna be
was
a ultra runner.
it was a vicious cycle because my left knee was the knee that hurt, and then my left big toe was the one that I kicked really hard.
Oh, so
I
now you
wasn't I wasn't
uninjured.
lifting up my feet or my foot very high.
Oh, yeah.
So going around Hope with just, you know, a couple roots and rocks every once in a while, I would just kick it and then it would hurt so bad.
It's like a big
Oh,
target. You manage to find it every time, right?
yeah, no, and you know, the one rock in the trail, I always kicked it.
Ah,
So
did you go
it
down?
was it was really bad.
Yeah. Did you take a spill?
No,
Okay.
I'm not one to fall on a downhill,
Well, I mean, just
surprisingly.
by kicking the rock, though, I thought maybe that would have sent you down. So that's good.
No, the rock went flying though. It
Oh,
went pretty far.
all right. Well, you
You
taught
know, I
it.
was proud. I was surprised I could kick a rock that far.
You're right. Well, yeah. I mean, if you get it in the right place there, man, you could kick it down 2,000 feet off the mountain there, you know?
Yeah, who knows? It might have rolled that far.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I'm usually good for at least one good fall every race. You know, I'm gonna have blood somewhere. I'm just
Yeah.
I don't pick up my feet very well anymore. So oh well.
Yeah, no, I'm proud to not fall very much. Although I have had a few funny falls that, I'm proud of to walk
Yeah.
away from.
Right, right. Well, good. So what do you got coming up? I mean, what does your future look like here in the sport and even outside the sport? Are you going to be back in Leadville for one thing?
Um, I mean, hopefully I come back to Leadville. After running this year, I really would like to come back maybe next year, but we'll see about that. In the near future, I don't have any races planned right now, but I'm thinking I'll do something a little bit shorter, hopefully like a 12-hour race. I'm feeling like going faster right now.
Okay.
Well, faster is a relative term because, it's
Right.
still ultras, but um, just slightly faster. And then I'm actually taking my gap year right now.
Oh, are you?
So I'm
Okay.
going to be traveling the world. I'm doing a Knowles mountaineering semester in January or just a month. Um, so I'm going to Patagonia to
Oh,
learn some
sweet.
mountaineering skills.
Awesome.
Um, and yeah, I'm just gonna be moving around, running, obviously, having adventures. And
Yeah. Where do you
that's what I
plan to go?
really, sorry.
Where do you plan to go?
Oh, so do you know what woofing is?
No.
So it's like working on organic farms. I forget what the exact acronym is, but you like people who have farms, they do these posts on the woofing website and you just get in contact with them and then you go to their farm and in exchange for working a couple hours each day they give you housing and food for free,
Okay.
so it's a really inexpensive way to travel the world and then with your free time you just get to explore the countries. So I'm going with a buddy to New Zealand for a couple weeks, then we're going to go um, into Europe for a while and just explore, see all the sights. And yeah, I'm really excited for that.
Oh, fun. Yeah, I had a kid I used to coach who did something like that at some farm up in maybe it was Oregon, somewhere in the Pacific Northwest, but I didn't know you could do that around the world. That's pretty amazing.
Yeah, it's pretty much every country.
Yeah.
So it's really I'm super thrilled to be able to do that for a couple months.
Yeah. So when do you leave?
So that's in the spring. So
Okay.
that's not for a while. But in October and November, I'm gonna also be working on my friend's ranch
Yeah.
in by Lake Tahoe. So it's just going to be a whole range of experiences this year.
Right.
And then next summer, I'm hoping to get a job in the Tetons. I'm hoping Jenny Lake Lodge,
All
but
right.
we'll see. It might be difficult to get a job there.
Yeah. No, obviously an iconic spot there.
Yeah,
Beautiful place. Yeah. And then what are you gonna do after your gap year?
I'm going to UVM.
Oh yeah. Very nice.
Yeah,
All
so
right.
I'm excited.
What do you plan to study there?
All my friends are leaving for school right now, so
Right.
it's like, oh wow, this is what I could be doing, but I get a year.
Yeah. Well, I was gonna say now all you have time to do is go run. Oh wait, you got to recover first, I
Yeah,
guess. Yeah. So
yeah.
what are you gonna study at UVM?
I'm going to study mechanical engineering.
Nice.
Yeah.
All right. With an eye to what do you want to do with that?
Yeah, who knows?
Yeah.
Um, I guess we'll just see. I got a lot of time to figure it out.
Yep. You
I
sure
try not
did.
to think too much about it.
Yeah, I hear you. Yeah, I was thinking when you're down in Patagonia, I've got a good friend who spends a lot of time running up and down mountains in Peru and Ecuador and such. If you ever need to be hooked up with some great mountain runners down there, In fact, the guy, his name is Tyler Andrews. He was actually hoping to win the race at Leadville, and some really unfortunate things happened to his crew. They got into a very bad car accident the day
Oh
before
gosh.
the race, and one of his pacers, Pete Kostelnik, who's a very well-known ultra runner, got very seriously hurt. Probably won't be able to walk for a couple months after that. So it knocked Tyler off his game a lot. So the race did not go well for him. Um, but yeah, he spends a lot of time down there in South America running up and down mountains. So if you need a connection for something like that, let me know.
Yeah, that could be amazing. I would love to do some running down there in the summer
Yeah, yeah,
or whenever
I'm
it's.
going to Asia this fall, and I'm just really excited to be able to run in all these different countries over there. And it'll some of it'll be a great challenge, I'm sure. But one is definitely going to
Yeah.
be trying to go up and down Mount Fuji, which will be great too.
Oh, that would be amazing. Yeah, I did. I took a hiking trip with my mom this summer in Italy and Switzerland. It was right around, the Tour de Monte Rosa.
No, I don't.
Just an incredible route through the Alps in Italy and Switzerland,
Yeah.
around the Matterhorn.
Hmm.
And just the running over there is so cool.
Right.
A lot of the runs just from hotel to hotel, running over the running over one set of mountains and then descending down into another town. And each of
Right.
the towns were so different because they had been separated for so long. So each of them have their own little accents and
Right.
so it was really interesting.
Oh, that's cool. Yeah, one of my bucket list things is I'd like to run the UTMB trail over there. I mean, I'm never going to qualify for the race, I think, at my age, but still, I think that would be really cool to just go ahead and traverse the course myself. I've done some run. I mean, I've been to Switzerland, I've run there, but it was the winter time, so couldn't exactly get up and run the trails very well. I ran other
Yeah.
places, of course. It's beautiful, beautiful country, of course. A lot different than I expected. Um,
Yeah.
like Lake
I mean, I
Geneva.
think you've still got UTMB in you. You see all these like 70 or 80-year-olds line up at the start. It's really impressive. I'm surprised by the
Oh yeah,
longevity of a lot of the runners.
there are some amazing, amazing people. In fact, like one of the people who's been on this podcast, he ran across the country from LA to Washington, D.C., 30 miles a day for 100 straight days, and he's 77 years old.
Wow.
Yeah,
Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh.
right. So yeah, the guy was an absolute trip. He was great. So yeah, no, there's age is no longer a barrier to a lot of things. And my goal actually is to finish the Leadville 100 in 4 different 10-year age groups.
Yeah.
Apparently it's never been done before. So that's
You'll be
my
the
goal.
first.
Yeah. So
That would be incredible.
all right. Well, if I'm going to try it next year, maybe. Well, I was going to say you may be out of the country. I'd love to have you be part of my crew.
Let me know.
Yeah.
I mean, I might be there.
All right. Well, very
See.
cool. Yeah. Well, good. Well, hey, what have we missed here? What other topics have we not covered here?
Oh, let me think. Um, I don't know. I what I really wanted to mention was watching Cars and Kung Fu Panda
Oh yeah.
before
Right.
Leadville. I think that's a pretty important part of my story. Um, Kung Fu Panda has a lot of nuggets of wisdom for ultra running. Same with, yeah, Cars I watched the night before, and that, got me in a great place.
Right.
But, Master Shifu in Kung Fu Panda, he kept me going
Oh,
when
okay.
things got
You got to
tough.
give us some examples because those of us old fogies may not really relate to this very well. So
Oh,
give us some nuggets here.
let's see. All right. I actually have a quote list up right now because I couldn't list it off right in front of me. Um, but Master Shifu said, if you only do what you can do, you will never be more than who you are.
All right.
That's pretty
Fair. I
good.
like it. Yep. I like it. Yep.
There's a lot of wisdom there, especially from a Disney movie.
Right.
That one, yeah, I had that in the back of my mind
All
when
right.
things got tough.
Yeah. What
I,
else?
let's see. I don't know. I said this to someone. I think it shows up in Kung Fu Panda, but someone said it was also something Yoda said. But um He said, "There is only do or do not. There is no try."
I've heard that out of Yoda before. Yes.
And that actually, I was repeating that to myself from Outward Bound to Twin Lakes. I would, yeah, because that's when I was just kind of over it already.
Right.
So
At that
yeah,
point, you're just like, okay, we're just going to do it.
exactly. All that Disney Channel wisdom. It's what I needed. And then before Orcas, I watched Tangled. Um,
What's that?
it's like a Rapunzel, one with the long hair.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So that,
This is like a
Disney
modern
movie.
take on it or something. I'm not aware. Yeah.
I don't know. I think it might be.
All
I
right.
don't know. I thought that was the modern take, but maybe that's, maybe I'm just too young to
Well, I
understand.
mean, Rapunzel's story is, one of those Anderson's fairy tales or
Yeah.
whatever it was. I don't know, but so what was the wisdom that comes out of that?
Out of Rapunzel?
Yeah.
Oh no, I just like the songs
Oh, okay.
because I because for Orcas I had the entire day to wait for the race to start.
Oh,
So
yeah.
I was like, okay, let me just watch some movies. Um, and that got me, feeling good.
All right. When you're out on the trail, do you listen to any kind of music or anything like that?
I, Sweet Caroline, of
Oh, shit.
course.
Oh gosh. Yeah.
And then um, I also listened to Shipping Up to Boston, another Boston song.
I
Do you
don't
know
think
that
I know
one?
that one. No.
Oh, how does it go? I don't know. People will know, but it's a really, that one got me going. It was
I'm
good.
sure. What about Dirty Water? You must be playing that one in your head, whatever that song's called.
No, I don't think so.
Yeah, they play
Not
that
familiar.
after every time the Red Sox win. They play, dun 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 dun. I forget. I'm
Yeah, no, I don't know.
yeah.
Wait, let me.
Well, hopefully the Red Sox don't win tonight, so you won't hear it anyway. But no, they play that after
Yeah,
they.
I hope not. Let's see. Shipping Up to Boston. This one.
Are you playing that?
Yeah, that was me. Can you hear it?
No, I couldn't hear it.
Oh, weird. Do you hear it?
It sounds like Alvin and the Chipmunks. So
Oh, huh, weird.
yeah.
Well,
Oh well.
I don't know. Maybe it just didn't. Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah.
But I love that song.
Who wrote that song?
Shipping Up to Boston, the Dropkick Murphys.
Oh yeah, sure. I know them. Yeah.
Yeah, you can listen to it after it. You'll be pumped up.
Yeah.
I promise.
Well, they're buddies with Bruce Springsteen, who is, you'll hear the intro and outro to this podcast is Springsteen's Born to Run. So,
Oh yeah.
oh yeah, I'm a big Springsteen fan. He and I have the same birthday, and
Really?
yep. So
When's your birthday?
September 23rd.
Oh,
So
that's a
yeah,
good birthday. Oh, it's coming up.
yep, coming up soon. So yeah, Bruce is exactly 9 years older than I am. So, but yeah, that's always been my theme song is Born to Run.
Yeah, that's a good one,
Oh yeah. Yes.
especially for the podcast.
Yeah, the intro and outro is actually the live version of when he was in Denver in 2016, and I was in the front row watching him there. So
Yeah,
yeah, pretty cool.
that's awesome.
Yeah. So besides your Kung Fu Panda and I forget the other one now, but anything else that we haven't touched on?
Um, oh, let's see. I mean, I think, you know, just a little insight into the life of a young ultra runner. It was, especially training for Orcas, it was really weird. Um, Balancing school and social life and that, because every single weekend I went to Maine every weekend and I was alone the whole time. Well, no, I was with my mom, but
Yeah.
I wasn't with any friends, wasn't seeing anyone. So a big social life sacrifice. And then on things like on New Year's Eve, I spent 9.5 hours running, doing repeats on this one mountain.
Really?
Um, and it wasn't even a thought in my mind that I was missing out at home.
Right.
Because that's just where I wanted to be. So it took a lot of commitment to kind of miss out on all the social things for 2 or 3 months. But yeah, I wanted to be there. I was happy
Right.
to do it.
Well, that's very cool. I mean, did any of your friends give you a hard time about that? Like, geez, New Year's Eve, what are you doing, you knucklehead? We're out here partying, and what do you do?
No.
No?
I mean, it was, they were like, why can't you just be home for, a couple days or something like that?
Right.
But for the most part, my friends were like, yeah, go do your thing. You're killing it.
Yeah.
Just keep, crushing it in the mountains.
Yeah.
Uh,
They're proud of you. That's good. Yeah.
yeah, so it was cool. I mean, a lot of my friends didn't really know what uh the whole ultra running thing was, but they were super
Oh,
amazing and supportive and awesome about it.
well, you're lucky. I mean, I could see, kids can sometimes be the opposite. They can be, like, oh, great, you're this, you think you're hot stuff, you ultra running nerd or whatever. I mean, I remember having a guy I grew up with who was like a world-class ping pong player. And we gave him all sorts of crap all the time because he insisted we would call it table tennis, and we would just call ping pong to his face just to make fun of him, because it's like, come on, table tennis, don't give us that
Yeah.
crap. You're a ping pong player.
Yeah, I get those. I get some of that though. I mean, um, a lot of comments like, oh, you've run 100 miles, you can't walk like 100 feet to, go grab me that. I'm like, I don't, yeah, I probably could. Or just all those sorts of comments. I'm sure you get it.
Oh yeah, no,
But they're funny. I mean, yeah,
right.
it's fun.
Yeah, they can be humbling. Yeah, I remember I ran the Boston Marathon, and we stayed the next that night with a friend of my friend's sister was in Burlington, Vermont, and like the next day we couldn't walk down the hill to go get breakfast, and we had to walk down backwards, and it's
Yeah.
pretty humbling. It's like, geez, we just ran a marathon yesterday. Today we can't walk down a hill.
Mhm.
So
Yeah. Oh, I have a horrible Boston Marathon running story.
yeah.
Um, I had a 3 hour run or 4 hour, 3.5 hour run on the schedule. Um, so I just texted my coach like, "Hey, could I just run the Boston Marathon since I'm going to be running close to that anyway?" And he was like, "Sure." And I picked the worst day possible for it. It was 98 degrees. It felt like 102 with like 85% humidity.
Ooh.
And it was so bad. Just the worst day ever. I think it was like 3.5 hours of running. And then I probably like spent 2.5 hours sitting down. And I live right by the marathon course. So at one point
Right.
I stopped at my house and laid on the floor for 20 minutes just to cool down.
Oh wow. Was this during the race, or this just a random
No,
day?
this was just like spontaneous
Oh,
kind
okay.
of
Right.
around the course.
Yeah. Well, I mean, geez, obviously, um, I mean, if you run 3.5 hours on a day like that, I mean, that's actually pretty impressive, especially since you didn't have crowds to push you along or aid stations or anything like that.
Yeah, it was hard. It sucked so much. But it was cool because you run through so many towns.
Oh yeah.
So it was like a little journey of its own. And I stopped to get food and water
Yeah.
at CVS.
Yeah. No, actually, that's got to be really cool to be able to run the whole course like that on your own.
Yeah,
Um,
I think one of my favorite things about ultra running is that during the training, you just go out for such a long day and it's normal. And then by the end of the day, you're feeling good.
yeah, I tell people all the time, it's like, well, they go, God, you ran for that long. And I said, well, you went out for a hike one day and you were out for how many hours? And it's like, yeah, well, I'm doing the same thing. I'm just moving faster.
Yeah.
I get to see a little
Yeah.
bit
And it
more.
just,
Yeah.
it, and it becomes this like normal thing,
Yep.
running 20 miles every weekend or something, something
Right.
like
Very cool. Yeah, absolutely. You mentioned before you had to juggle your schoolwork and everything. Do you find, do you have a system there? I mean, what keeps you on top of stuff? Because obviously you're taking that amount of time out to train. It's obviously taxing on your schedule there to get your schoolwork done and have a social life and everything. Do you have what's your system to make sure you stay on top of things?
I mean, I love the library. So I would just go to the library after school if I had a lot of work. But I think the the thing that was hard was, waking up early before school to run. Sometimes I'd wake up at like 5 to go to the gym and run on the treadmill and do these hill workouts, which
Yeah.
just suck so much.
Right.
But then at like 11 o'clock, I'm so tired and hungry. And, you know, when I just wanted to go to sleep instead of doing work. So that was annoying. But honestly, I feel like the time commitment of ultra running mostly shows up on weekends,
Yeah.
but during weekdays, like, I'm running for an hour or two maybe, but there's so much more time in the day. So I don't really find it getting in the way of most things.
Yeah. No, I mean, there's always time. I mean,
Yeah.
obviously you took it a little bit more extreme with getting up at 5 in the morning, but um,
Yeah.
no, I think it's great to get up early and get it done. And I mean, what was your weekly mileage looking like for?
It wasn't, so I actually had, oh, sorry. I actually had some pretty bad hip problems training for orcas. The doctor said it was arthritis, although I'm not so sure because it's not there now.
Right.
But um, so I have hip dysplasia in both of my hips. It's pretty minor, but
Hmm.
do you know what that is?
Yes.
Yeah. So um, I guess for anyone who's listening, it's when your hip joint and then your femur going into the hip um, don't really have a great connection because the hip joint doesn't fully cover the ball of the joint. Um,
All of
I
the
guess that's
femur. Yeah. Yeah.
yeah. I don't know if that's a good way to put it, but um, I
It's a
guess
ball, it's a ball and socket issue, basically.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So yeah, that I wasn't running a ton for a little while, but my mileage got up to 60 something miles a week, training for orcas. But that had like 10,000, 15,000 feet of elevation gain each week,
Yeah.
mostly coming from um my long run. So it was still good. And then I felt good going into the race and all that. So I was happy to do that. And yeah, mileage isn't crazy high, like maybe 70 a week.
Right.
Um, the week I had a super high volume week in Italy, where between running and hiking, it was like 108 miles with 33,000 feet of elevation gain.
Wow.
But I mean, just getting that volume and still feeling good at the end of the week was a super huge confidence booster.
Yeah, I bet. Oh, that's awesome.
But yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, honestly, I love the training. It really is very fun for me.
Right. Right. Well, I was just thinking if you're like doing this much schoolwork and training and everything, it doesn't sound like you actually like missed out on much social life there. I don't think you had much to start with, did you? I'm only kidding you.
Uh, you know,
I know.
yeah, I don't think I missed out on too much. I'm sure I missed out on more than I think because I wasn't really there, but um, I was just doing what I love, so
Yeah.
I don't really care.
No, I was gonna say if anything you missed out on
Yeah.
was probably stupid stuff. So,
Yeah, exactly. I mean,
right,
none of it was things that I didn't miss any important events.
right.
So that's what matters.
Yeah, absolutely. So no, it's you used your time very wisely, it sounds like. So that's good. So Alden, where can people find you out there if they want to, follow you on social media and whatnot?
Yeah, so I'm on Instagram. I think it's just Alden Iselin. And then yeah, you can follow me on Strava. Same thing. Love Strava. Um, I always tell my friends to follow me, and then no one
Right.
does. Um, but yeah, mostly Instagram. I don't
Okay.
really have too many other social medias that I'm
Okay.
active on, at least.
All right. No, that's fine. All right. Well, good. Well, hey, this has been a great chat. I'm super, super impressed by you there, 18 years old, and having accomplished all you have, and you've got a good heart, and I think you've got the right mindset for the ultra community, and I can't wait to see where you take all this here. If, after you get back from your gap year, you need an agent or something. I mean, you've got a coach, but if you need an agent, I have a feeling, I'd love to be your agent. So just let me know, okay?
All right. Well, thank you so much, Bill. I've had a great time and I really appreciate the opportunity to be on here.
Absolutely. No, this has been quite the treat, and best of luck to you there, and have a great time on your gap year, and hope to see you in Leadville.
I hope to be back.
All right. Have a great day, buddy.
You too. Thank you so much.
Thanks.